I live in Scotland and I ride everywhere from the coast to the highlands, road, gravel and mud. Scotland has typical 4 seasons in a day, so making the right choice to protect your hands and feet is essential.
For sure, yeah. It's never fun to have to stop a ride early or suffer through a ride because you got cold hands and feet. And then, if you put on one of our Flanders long sleeve base layers under it, really you can get to below freezing with the same jacket. So it's got a huge versatility.
We actually launched a limited pro edition. I think it was only 100 pieces delivered in this stealth black looking box, including a high-quality Sharpie pen to black out, the Castelli logos. There's a question here from Nikki from Germany. She's asking about how to wash the Gabba or the Perfetto products.
And so, you get that little bit of aero advantage and a little bit more comfort.
Yeah, because that aero advantage is something we have seen in the wind tunnel. Welcome to the Castelli podcast, the show where we delve into the world of Castelli. I'm your host, Søren Jensen, Castelli Marketing Manager. And on my left, we have Alvin Nordell, Castelli's Product and Race Division Manager. First, I would like to thank all our listeners and everyone who has shared their Gabba stories with us on Instagram and Facebook. Your engagement and feedback means the world to us. So we have decided to double up the price to 8 Gabba RoS 2 jackets in the giveaway. So if you have any cycling mates who still haven't listened to last week's episode and shared their Gabba story on a pinned Instagram, Facebook and STRAVA Club Forum post, share the link with them and make sure to rate us and follow the show where you get your podcasts. With last week's Gabba episode, we also received a lot of questions from our listeners about the current Gabba jacket, the Perfetto products, and what products to pair for the perfect foul weather kit. Alvin, welcome to the show. Before we dive into questions from our listeners, why don't you give us a quick run through of today's 5th generation Gabba RoS 2 jacket?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Søren. I'm really excited to be here today and to talk about the Gabba. It's one of my favorite pieces that we have, and I'll jump in a little bit about what makes it such a great product. Throughout the entire piece, we use the gore-tex Infinium windstopper fabric, and on the front we use a slightly heavier 205 weight version, because that's where where you're getting most of the wind. That's where the rain's hitting you hard when you're going forward on the bike. And then on the back we use a slightly lighter 203 version of the gore-tex Infinium windstopper fabric. And that just for a little extra breathability, so it's a little bit lighter. So you get a huge variation of temperature out of the piece. So, if you pair it with just a lightweight base layer, it's great. And then, if you put on one of our Flanders long sleeve base layers under it, really you can get to below freezing with the same jacket. So it's got a huge versatility. And then with that gore-tex Infinium windstopper fabric, it keeps out all the wind. It protects you from the rain really well, but then it also breathes really well too. So that's why you can wear it, anywhere from an hour on the bike up to 5 hours on the bike. And it's also one of the reasons why it's a favorite of our pros. And then, it's those little details on it too that make it extra special, like where we tape the seams on the shoulders, because when you're going forward on the bike, the rain starts hitting you hard, and the first place it really hits you is on the shoulders. So we tape the shoulders there to make sure no rain, makes its way in, because if you can stay dry and warm on the bike, you can stay out for hours and hours and hours. And especially for our pro riders, that's super important. And, even for me, that's important because, some days in the winter, I just don't want to stay in on the trainer anymore. So you just kind of bundle up, go out. And if you have a Perfetto on, you got that peace of mind.
Oh yeah, correctly. It's an amazing product, also super lightweight. Let's dive into the first question here from Albert Bronchet Galbani. He's asking if there'll be any changes to the current 5th generation Gabba for 2024.
Yeah, so for 2024, we don't have any updates to the garment itself. We do have quite a few colors coming in. I think we have 9 colors in the Gabba Perfetto jacket right now. Plus, we make a version of it in our limited gravel collection. So, there's up to 11, 12 different color options throughout the line. So that's really the biggest update, is we'll have lots of colors to really match your kit.
Yeah, so go and check out all the color options on castellicycling.com. Then we have Valentino from Italy asking, what's the main difference between the Gabba and Perfetto RoS 2 wind jersey?
So the biggest difference is the weight. So the Gabba has that gore-tex Infinium windstopper 205 fabric on the front and the 203 on the back. So it's a little heavier weight. And then the Perfetto RoS 2 wind jersey, we use the lighter weight gore-tex Infinium on the front, and then on the back we use our NanoFlex stretch woven fabric. And that still has a DWR treatment on it. And it's the same fabric we use on our NanoFlex warmers as well. So that still sheds the rain, but just overall the piece is a little bit lighter weight. So, if you're in a place, like in the southern part of the U.S. or Spain, or one of those places where it doesn't get super cold, it's one of those great pieces to still protect you from the elements while making sure you don't overheat.
Maybe to specify a little bit the temperature range of the Gabba versus the Perfetto RoS 2 wind jersey.
Yeah, so the Gabba, it's a short sleeve race piece, fall weather performance piece. So if you pair it with our NanoFlex arm warmers, you get a pretty big temperature range out of it. You can get into those, single digit degrees days. And then with the Perfetto RoS 2 wind jersey, that one's isn't gonna be as warm, but it's intended to give you that bigger temperature range. So you can get up into 15, 20 degrees depending on the day.
Yeah, and it's almost as light as a jersey. I even find myself often in the mid-season taking the wind jersey instead of a regular jersey with a vest on top, and just pair it with the seamless arm warmers, because it's lightweight, gives you the full wind protection, and breathes really well.
Yeah, or it's even one of those great pieces for those big events, for those big fondos where, I remember I started the Maratona and it was super cold at the start. And so I used my Perfetto wind jersey that day because I wanted a little extra protection with the sleeves, but then it's so lightweight, it packs up into a pocket. So once I got to the top of Pordoi, I made sure to take it off, and then I just stayed in my pocket the rest of the day, but I had that peace of mind in case I needed it. So really that great versatile piece too.
Yeah, I know, it's a fantastic product. Elvin, talking about the Perfetto family, let's take a quick run through of the line of Perfetto products that we have, because we do have a few items.
Yeah, we've got quite the family of Perfetto product. That iconic piece is that Gabba, that short sleeve fall weather piece. And then from there, we go to a long sleeve Perfetto jacket. So that's going to have that same gore-tex Infinium windstopper fabric throughout the entire piece. It's just like the Gabba, but with long sleeves. So that's our Perfetto RoS 2 jacket. And then we have a convertible version. So for those people who want to get a little extra bang for their buck, or live in a place where there's a lot of variability in temperature, the convertible is just like the Perfetto long sleeve jacket, but you can zip the sleeves on and off. It's got a nice zipper in there. We make sure to protect you from the zipper so it doesn't rub on your skin or anything. And it's got a little flap that folds over, so it looks really clean. You can't even tell you're wearing a convertible piece. And you can just put the sleeves in your pocket because that fabric is packs down to pretty much nothing. So you just throw those sleeves in your pocket, and then if it starts to get cold again, or if the temperature or the weather changes, you can just put the sleeves back on. So you get a huge temperature range and a lot of variability of the convertible. And then we've got...
Pause you for a second here, Elvin. Yeah, because there you have basically two products in one. You have the Perfetto long sleeve and the Gabba.
Yeah.
In one garment. And I'm just browsing now or scrolling through or some of the comments on our STRAVA club forum post. And there's actually an interesting one here from Lewis Campbell from Scotland. He says, my favorite is the Perfetto convertible jacket. I live in Scotland and I ride everywhere from the coast to the highlands, road, gravel and mud. Scotland has typical 4 seasons in a day. So to have the Gabba convertible when leaving home, unzipping the sleeves when the temperatures rise, is just amazing. And the last bit here, or if it starts to rain, just zip back on the sleeves and you got a full weatherproof long sleeve jacket. Also a great option for evening rides and cold mornings. Perfect for spring, autumn sportives and cyclocross training rides and more. I like this comment here from Lewis. I mean, it's everything what you just said. But I can imagine in those climates, especially like in north of Europe, where you have those like changing weather conditions, it's a perfect product for that.
Yeah, he's totally right. I mean, that's the perfect application for the Perfetto convertible jacket. It's perfect. So after the convertible jacket, we have that Perfetto RoS 2 wind jersey we were talking about. So again, that perfect piece for those little bit warmer days where you want that little bit of extra protection, or like for my Maratona, the one I take just so I can have that little extra warmth that you get from not having a vest or instead of a vest, but still packs down really tight. And then we've moved that same gore-tex Infinium fabric into our gloves. So we do a Perfetto light glove, our Perfetto glove, and then our Perfetto max. And it's funny with the Perfetto glove, it's one of those where if I have a buddy and he's like, hey, which glove? And before he can even finish his sentence, I say Perfetto. And he goes, what?
Yeah.
The Perfetto glove, that's the one you want. And yeah, sure enough, a couple of weeks later, they come back and they're like, Alvin, you're right. Perfetto glove, it was exactly what I needed it to be.
There's actually a question here, see on the list here, from a person asking about all the Perfetto accessories, how to pair with the Gabba. But let's just finish up maybe the Perfetto line of products. We started with the Gabba, the convertible. We got the Perfetto long sleeve.
Perfetto long sleeve, our Perfetto Wind jersey. Perfetto vest has that lighter weight gore-tex fabric on the front. And then we use our Nano Flex stretch woven on the back, so it gives you a really good close to body fit with that stretch woven fabric, so nothing's flapping around. But then you get all that same wind protection and some water protection from that gore-tex fabric on the front. And it's so lightweight, that one packs down really, really easily.
Yeah, that's a great product. Yeah, and you got also the 2 rear pockets we have on the back of the vest.
Yep, 2 rear pockets. They're very roomy, so you can fit quite a bit in those. So you never have to worry about if you can bring enough with you, because those 2 pockets fit quite a bit. Plus that stretchy fabric allows for some extra storage. So if it's going to be a long day on the bike, you can definitely fit all the food you're going to need in there. If you're going to start with some gloves on, you can put those in there and not worry about running out of space.
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things. I mean, then you basically start out with 5 pockets, because you got 3 in your jersey underneath, 2 pockets in your vest. And as the professionals, but there was actually the pro riders that asked for this option of having the rear pockets on the vest.
Mm-hmm.
So when they had to return back to the car with the arm warmers or gloves, etc., they could just stuff warmers and gloves into the rear pockets and just bring back the vest from the different riders. It would also keep in all the gloves within the same rider's vest, so everything didn't get mixed up in the car.
Yeah, exactly. And too, sometimes when you do have layers on like that, you've got gloves on, so it's easier to use a bigger pocket.
Correct.
When you have gloves on, it just makes it easier to grab things. Make sure you're in the right pocket. Yeah, it just makes it a lot easier to use if you got more room there.
Yeah. Moving on to the next question from Mike Johnson from the UK, coming back to what you just said about the Perfetto essentials or the Perfetto gloves. And we got shoe covers, we got so much more here. But he's basically asking what to pair with the Gabba for the perfect wet cold weather kit. And of course, let's just start with the accessories, gloves and shoe covers, and then we can move into shorts and tights later. But as we know, during the winter season, having the appropriate gloves or shoe covers can make all the difference in your rides. When your hands or feet start feeling cold, it can create both physical and mental barriers to performing at your peak, whether you're getting in the base miles or commuting to work or heading out for a pre-work spin in the unavoidable wet, cold or windy conditions. So making the right choice to protect your hands and feet is essential.
For sure, yeah. It's never fun to have to stop a ride early or suffer through a ride because you got cold hands and feet.
Yeah.
Nothing worse than that. Definitely had a few of those days. And yeah, before Perfetto existed, I definitely wished it was around then. Probably would have kept me on my bike a lot longer when I was first starting.
Also because the Perfettos, they're not bulky gloves, and we started out with just one glove, the Perfetto RoS, but then we extended the line of gloves to 3. Maybe you just take us through the different gloves, starting with the lightweight glove and then all the way up to the max.
Yeah, so really the heart of the collection is going to be that Perfetto glove, that one that's perfect for 90% of your rides. And then for those places where it's a little bit warmer, or maybe you're going out for a hard ride and you don't need quite as much protection on your hands, we've got the Perfetto Light. So that one's just a little bit lighter weight, but still offers great water protection and wind protection. And then for those of you out there who are going to be out there in the cold and getting those long miles in when you just can't avoid any cold or bad weather, we've got the Perfetto Max. And that one's got our most amount of insulation. It still has that gore-tex infinium fabric to keep out the wind and protect you from the rain, but it just got that extra insulation to it. So those really cold days when you're getting towards 0 and below, and you just want to be out there on the bike, that's the perfect glove to go to.
I'm just looking up our website. You can select up to, I think it's 3 products, and then you can also compare them so you can see the different attributes here. So if you're looking at the Max glove, we're talking from below 0 to plus 810 degrees Celsius.
Exactly.
And then we're looking at the Perfetto RoS glove, 4 to about 12 degrees. And then with the light gloves, like just taking off the chill from your hands from like 6-8 degrees till 14-15, depending also on the weather condition, if it's raining or light rain or whatever it is.
Yeah, really for when you'd want to have, go from no gloves or short finger gloves just to put a little something on your hands to keep them warmer.
Correct, yeah. And then we have a pretty cool system on the palm of the glove, apart from having the silicone dots to aid grip, but we also have the Castelli damping system. Maybe you want to dive a little bit into that.
Yeah, so the Castelli damping system, it came about from just some long hours on the bike a few years ago Just when you're out for a long time, sometimes you start to feel it in the palm of your hand. And we created that damping system just to absorb some of that shock to make sure you don't get numb hands or numb fingers for long days out on the bike. You'll actually see that in a lot of our summer gloves too. Correct. So we've used that same system that we created, Castelli damping system, and we've used it on our whole line of gloves. And it's really just that extra comfort, because if you have a good chamois and a good gloves, those contact points with the bike can really make or break a ride. So we focus on making sure where you're touching the bike that you're also comfortable, not just comfortable from the element.
Correct. We're talking about the contact points. You already mentioned two of them now, like the chamois and the hands. And now we can go into the feet here in a second, also with the shoe covers. But just to wrap up what Ellen just said, with Castelli damping system, offer increased padding at a strategically placed positions in order to reduce the hand fatigue and provide long-lasting comfort, and relieves excessive pressure on the median nerves that run along the palm of your hands. We have received a lot of very positive feedback, and definitely also one of the things that I really like about our gloves. And I'm happy we also brought it into winter gloves, which usually are never really padded, because they're already padded with extra thermal padding instead of really thinking about the damping.
With winter gloves, you always think about that insulation, but having just that little bit of extra on the palm just to keep your hands from fatiguing, it just helps keep you more comfortable and more comfort, better rides.
Yeah, no, exactly. So let's jump into shoe covers then. We already mentioned it briefly. So we got the Perfetto Shoe-cover.
Yeah, so between making sure that your upper body and your arms are nice and warm, your hands are nice and warm and protected from the elements. Your feet is another one of those spots where if they start getting wet and cold, it can really ruin a ride. So we've used that same gore-tex Infinia windstopper fabric in a shoe cover. So it helps shed water, has that wind blocker fabric, so no wind goes through, and helps keep your feet nice, warm, and dry so you can stay out on the bike for a long time. It's got a good long cuff, so it really helps any spray that's coming up from the wheels if you're going out after a rainstorm, or even if you're still in the rain. And then that nice, long, comfortable zip with a little bit of backing on it just to make sure it doesn't rub or create any irritation on your ankle or on your calf. And then, we've contoured the bottom of the foot so it's easy to get your cleat in and out, and then leave a little opening for your heel. So if you're walking around after the ride or at the coffee shop, you're not going to tear up your nice Perfetto shoe covers. So lots of little details there that just help make them a great shoe cover with great fabric, that turn them into one of those pieces, kind of like the glove when somebody asks, what shoe cover should I get? Perfetto. Get the Perfetto shoe cover.
Yeah.
You'll be happy.
So, but also if you guys, if you go on the website, you will find 14 different kinds of shoe covers covering everything from the cold that you find in Alaska and Canada in winter time to the south of Europe or southern California. There's a little bit for everyone, but also for the guys riding around in Belgium, the Netherlands, and Scandinavia, in those wet and humid winter conditions with a lot of wheel splash. While we talk about accessories, what about the NanoFlex 3G arm warmers, or warmers in general, to pair with the Gabba?
Yeah, so the NanoFlex 3G warmers are the perfect combination with the Gabba, because the Gabba is short sleeve, and so if you are going out when it's a little chillier, you can put on the NanoFlex 3G arm warmers. With our NanoFlex technology, helps shed the water, so it's got that DWR treatment on it, plus we use a mechanical treatment when we actually make the fabric that helps just keep that water shedding off. Yeah, so that's a perfect complement to the Gabba short sleeve. But if you have a Perfetto jacket and you need a pair of leg warmers or knee warmers to match with the jacket, we have NanoFlex 3G leg warmers and knee warmers. So we use that same NanoFlex fabric with the DWR treatment and that mechanical treatment to keep the water off on the legs. So it's actually kind of fun when you're riding along and maybe you ride through a puddle or something and you see the water splash and it just beads up and rolls off. You're like, that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. So for those tech geeks out there, just watching yourself get wet and watching the water fly off is pretty cool. So those NanoFlex products are the perfect complement to the Gabba and Perfetto products. And then we actually make a NanoFlex Pro Bibshort. So it's a thermal Bibshort made with that same NanoFlex 3G fabric. And these are pretty cool because we cut them a little bit longer. So they go down to about your knee because, when it's cold out, you want as much protection as you can get. So you got that extra nice fleecy warm on the inside, that watershed on the outside. And then if you pair that with a pair of either the knee warmers or the leg warmers, always a personal preference there.
Yeah.
You get a really great, winter training or foul day kit that can get you through your ride.
Yeah, but that's also funny because both the NanoFlex 3G or the NanoFlex warmers and the NanoFlex Pro RoS Bibshort, originally named the Omloop, were all products that were created by the pros. Just like the Gabba, where we sat down with the pros and listened to their needs and the ideas that all came up like 2010-11. Also the ideas of the NanoFlex arm warmers and shorts. And I remember, I think it was Jeremy Hunt with the Civil Test team, and he was riding the Omloop Het Nieuwsblad with normal free aero RoS bib shorts, but with knee warmers cut it just to the top of the kneecap, just to get a little bit of extra warmth. And this is where everything started. When we looked at him after the race, or looked at the race photos, we were reaching out to him and asking,
what is he wearing?
Yeah, exactly. And this is where everything started for the NanoFlex Pro RoS bib short, and that's where the idea came from.
Yeah, so having all that little extra protection in one piece cuts down on some of the bulk, but then also having, that thermal fabric throughout the entire short just keeps you a little bit warmer. And even our riders on Soudal now, they wear that short a lot in the spring and fall, just a little bit extra warmth when they're out on the bike. And you definitely see it quite a bit in the spring classics. They wear that short a lot.
Yeah, I even wear it most of the times during spring riding here around in the Dolomites where we live. This is the first one I just pull up. It's just nice and comfy. This NanoFlex material is fleecy lined. It's so soft against the skin that's my go-to short really in springtime.
Yeah, it's that little bit of warmth that feels great, and then just having that little peace of mind knowing that it's gonna shed that water.
Right.
Just makes it that great piece for going out.
That water repelling coating is helping you to keep all the water out, and also the strategically placed seams and everything. No, I love that piece.
Exactly.
And there's also a really good note here also for the arm and leg and knee warmers is that the upper elastic band is a 15mm thick strip of black material with 5mm of Castelli silicone logos on the inner and outer surface to help the warmers stay put, but also great if you are in a race situation and you have to put back on your warmers because the weather is changing. It's easy also for the professional cyclists to just pull them on and just over the sleeve jersey because they will still stay put.
Yeah, exactly. And you see a lot of times with the pros, they'll even start a race if they think it's going to go off pretty quick.
Correct, yeah.
They'll start with the warmers on over their jersey so it's easier to pull off. Yeah, and speaking of some of those details that make the NanoFlex warmers so nice, the seaming on them is something we should talk about too. It's not just one piece of fabric. We use two different pieces of fabric, and the seams actually go around and move with your joint. So there's no seam that goes either like right behind the knee on the leg warmers or right across the elbow on the arm warmers. It actually contours to the arm and it goes on either side, so that way you don't get any extra rubbing or any abrasion from the seaming on the warmers. And that's always something that I never appreciated, when you have that one seam running down the back of your leg and you come back and it's kind of raw and you feel it in the shower afterwards. But with the NanoFlex 3G warmers, you never feel that, because the seaming with the placement and that flat lock stitch too makes it super comfortable and cuts down on any chance of irritation.
Correct. So just to wrap up then, the perfect kit to match with the Gabba or the Perfetto products. We talked about everything from the NanoFlex Pro RoS Bibshort. We have all the fantastic accessories, some gloves and shoe covers, warmers, and then last but not least, the Nano bib tight, which is also a fantastic product still with the NanoFlex water repellent treatment and also fleecy warm. So I think here we got the perfect kit here, right?
Yeah, if it's one of those days where it's going to stay cold the entire time, the Nano bib tight is again, it's got that NanoFlex 3G fabric throughout, so it's just nice and warm. You've got the water repellency from the DWR treatment and the mechanical treatment. It's our great Kiss chamois, so it's just super comfortable for long days out. And since it's a rain bib tight, we try to cut down on the seaming on it, so there's less of a chance for the water to work its way into the seams. And with less seams comes more comfort, because there's less of a chance of anything rubbing. Yeah. And then that nice mesh stretchy bib top, which just makes it, you can spend hours and hours in the saddle. And actually that's one of those pieces where some of our pro riders, they've had a special request So we've had to make them a couple special pairs of the NanoFlex bib tights, the two-tone Nano bib tights for their winter training, because they love the shorts so much. They love the warmers. They just wanted a full one piece. So every now and again, you'll catch a glimpse of them out training in those.
Yeah, no, fantastic product. Okay, next one up. I think this is a bit more marketing related, so I might answer this one. This is Barry from the US. He's asking, is it true that Castelli launched a limited edition Gabba edition, including a black marker pen, available to the pros and public? Yes, Barry, it's absolutely correct. With half the peloton in blacked out Gabba jackets at the 2013 Milan Sanremo. And as a part of our 2014 spring marketing campaign, we actually launched a limited pro edition. I think it was only 100 pieces, delivered in this stealth black looking box, including a high quality Sharpie pen to black out, well, the Castelli logos, but it's better that they had a good quality black marker pen for that job. I think we've all seen the photos there on social, and you can probably Google it. And one of the cool things also, like the small touches we made on that box, I remember, was on the inside we had printed or included some of the real quotes from the professional cyclist and what they said about the Gabba. But I'm sure if you guys Google it, this Black Pro Edition Gabba, you'll see what I'm talking about. I'll see if I can also find someone, drop a link maybe in the podcast notes. But that was pretty cool. I know we have one in the marketing office still in the archive. So there's 99 out there on the market. I don't know about you, Alvin, if you managed to get your hands on one box before it was sold out.
Man, that was one of those where I was living in the US at the time, and with the time change, by the time I woke up and saw it, they were already gone. So that's probably one of my bigger regrets, is not getting my hands on one of the pro issue Gabbas. But it's really cool to see those out there, and when I saw that, it was had a good laugh. But yeah, honestly, I mean, one of my favorite games still is playing Spot the Gabba in the Pro Peloton, where you look for those black Gabbas with the blacked out scorpions, and especially when it starts raining, you usually see quite a few.
Yeah, when the weather turns to bad, you see quite a few, but also still some of the Idro jackets.
Yes, you see those quite a bit now too.
Yeah, so okay, next question is from Charles Ryder from Canada. He's asking how to reactivate the water repellency on the Perfetto products or Gabba if it loses a bit of the water repellency.
No, that's a great question, because that DWR treatment on any garment will eventually wash off if you use it enough. So I hope you're actually using the Perfetto enough for you to need to reactivate it. But it's actually pretty simple. First, you're going to want to make sure the garment is clean. So throw it in the washing machine just to make sure all the dirt is off, because if you add a DWR treatment on top of a dirty product, that DWR treatment's going to get onto the dirt and it's not going to get onto the garment. But yeah, so first you're going to want to throw it into the washing machine and make sure it's nice and clean. And then, the best thing would be to use a spray treatment, so like a Nick Wax or something like that. You can get that at a lot of outdoor retailers too.
Correct.
Just spray it onto the entire garment. And then actually, we usually don't recommend this, but throw it into the dryer for, maybe 10, 15 minutes, not too high of a setting. And that actually helps the DWR really bond back onto the jacket.
Reactivate it.
Yeah, reactivates it. Wash it, spray it, throw it into the dryer for 10, 15 minutes. And then once it's fully dry, you should be back to 100%, back like a brand new water repellent Perfetto.
I mean, most of the times we think about, okay, we need to wash our shorts after every ride or tights because all that bacterial buildup you have in the chamois and maybe just get dirty by the wheel spray. But the same comes to the jacket. A lot of times we just tend to forget, I think. A lot of people say wash the jacket after 3 or 4 rides if it's not too dirty. But it's still sweaty and you still have all the pores from the membrane that are getting blocked. So make sure to wash your jacket more often. I think when you spray it using the Nick Wax, the best thing is also to hang it on a hanger. So you have it hanging and then you spray it from the front and back and all over.
Yeah, so really just make sure it's nice and flat so you get that spray on there nice and evenly, and if there's a wrinkle or something, you don't miss any spots, because you want to have one spot where the water is getting through. That would be rad.
So only do that from the outside, not on the inside.
Yeah, you don't need otherwise your sweat's going to get all water repellent.
Yeah. So while we're at it, actually, there's a question here from Nikki from Germany. She's asking about how to wash the Gabba or the Perfetto products, but I think it's just cycling clothing in general. If you have some tips here, you can share.
Yeah, for washing, really cycling clothing in general, and especially ones with a membrane where you don't want to clog the pores. You want to use a nice non-harsh detergent, for your cycling clothes. It's a little better to use a powder. Gore actually recommends using a liquid for their fabrics. A low water temperature, 30, 40 degrees in the wash. And then if you can, it's always best to line dry it, just so the dryer doesn't damage any of the membranes, or on your cycling shorts, does anything to the lycra. Wash with a nice non-harsh detergent, and then line dry are the two best things to do. And then also make sure you do it fairly regularly, so you're clothes stay nice and fresh. And if you can, also make sure you never just after a ride, don't leave stuff on the floor for a day or two all soaking wet. The sooner you can wash it, the better.
Yeah, no, correct. Next question is from Andy Thompson from Australia. He's asking, I usually get hand numbness after 2+ hours of riding. I'm using the Endurance summer gloves that also include the Castelli damping system. If you're okay, Alvin, I'm just going to give it a shot on this, because it's something that I worked on myself a lot, especially through the younger years of my career, racing the elite level, but also been going through a lot of bike fits, of course. But talking about contact points here, I don't think it has so much to do with the product itself, but it could have some other reasons for this. But to me, what I see, too much weight on your hands over longer durations, it all comes down to having the correct bar height and not being too far forward flexed or too upright. If you're too upright, there's too much weight on your saddle. And if you're too forward flexed, there's too much weight on your hands. So no, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying exactly, if you don't have the right bike fit, and you're putting too much weight on those hands, that can really affect your ride quality and your experience.
Exactly. I got hammered, so many times when I was under 23 about going to the gym during the season, because back then cyclists would only go to the gym in the off season, and you never hit the gym in summer.
Oh,
and
never.
One of my weak spots, and which I think is also a weak spot of most cyclists, is training the core.
Exactly.
When you're bent over, you got this 45 degrees torso angle where you're splitting or distributing the weight correctly. Remember, your core is responsible to maintain that balance and keep the pressure off your hands. So that would definitely also help. So core strength is crucial to hand numbness, hand pressure, to be able to extend the spine. Core strength for cyclists is so fundamental, I would say. I mean, I definitely learned my lesson over the years.
Funny, you would never think that your core has anything to do with your hands fatiguing or going numb. But yeah, if you can support your weight really well, and with a good bike fit, your hands and your feet should be nice and happy for the ride.
One thing is also the handlebars. Depends if you're on alloy handlebars, because alloy handlebars, they just don't absorb road vibrations like carbon bars they do. So that's also another detail. Plus also the carbon bars can be shaped so also to fit the hand support much better than on alloy bars that are usually round.
Exactly. And it's funny, one of the things that's really made my rides more comfortable, and it's not just from watching, Remco with his shifters pointed in,
right.
But, it was funny. I just, you always want to try something. And so I tried that one day. I pointed my shifters in a little bit, and I found that I was so much more comfortable on the bike, just because it was a much more natural wrist position, and it was kind of distributing the weight on my hands a little bit better. And so, you get that little bit of aero advantage and a little bit more comfort.
Yeah, because that aero advantage is something we have seen in the wind tunnel that is actually faster or similar to when you're down in the drops.
Yeah, I mean, always the more narrow is aero for the most part. So if you can get more narrow on the road bike, you can save those extra watts.
And keep your hands or your arms as parallel as possible, correct?
Yep, and keep those elbows in.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's also the double bar wrap. That's also another thing.
Yeah, for that little bit extra comfort, a little bit extra grip on the bar. Some people just like having a wider bar to grab onto. It's kind of like tennis players. Sometimes they'll double wrap their tennis rackets just to have that better grip on the racket. But for sure, I mean, I don't think you can find a bike at Roubaix or Flanders, for example, that doesn't have a double wrap, just to absorb some of that extra vibration. Yeah, so between having a bar that helps keep you comfortable, absorbing some vibration, some extra handlebar tape on the bar too, to absorb that vibration so it doesn't go from the road to your hands, always helps.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so Andy, all those things can help minimize the pressure. It's a combination of core and back strength, bar height, bar material, bar wrap, and the perfect glove and the glove padding. So, but it sounds like you already found yourself a good option there. So Before wrapping up this episode, we have one last question here coming from Lars from Norway, who is asking about what the riders of Soudal Quick-Step, what they're saying about the Perfetto and Gabba products.
Oh man, when you ask them what some of their favorite pieces are, it's always the Perfetto jacket, because it keeps them out on training rides longer and they love it. But probably one of the most telling things is there was, in the early part of the season, there are those Spanish races, that was at the Catalunya, and it was this year where it was rainy the entire week, which, for Spain is pretty strange.
Strange, yeah.
And the guys were racing in their Perfetto RoS 2 wind jerseys quite a bit, and I even saw a couple of Gabbas. And I got a note after one of the races from one of the riders, and he was like, "Man, I finished the race today and I was totally dry on the inside." And you can tell some of the other guys were just out there suffering. So that was awesome. Thanks, Castelli. So that was pretty cool. So, they use these pieces in racing, they use it for training. And, it just helps them get to the finish line, hopefully with their hands in the air.
Nice. Yeah, we like to hear that. But also the riders' feedback goes through the team, which is also what the team prefer. But we also have a lot of riders that are just reaching out to us through messages and emails directly, because this is the right time for them to communicate this product feedback or ideas that they have.
But also one of the things we do to make sure that we're always innovating and making our product better is a few times a year, as part of my job, I go to the classics and I sit down with the entire classic squad. And so there'll be 9 of us, and me and maybe a couple of the sports directors who have lots of experience. And we just chat kit. We go through all the products. We talk about what could be better, what they really like, new ideas. And so, we just, sit down for an hour and just talk about Gabbas and shorts and gloves. And so every season, usually see a couple new products pop up because of that. Sometimes they're groundbreaking like the Gabba, and other times, it's like 2 new products that are coming. Our Aero Race Shoe-cover and our Diluvio 1 glove.
Mm-hmm.
Like those were just 2 products that came out of a meeting with the classic squad. Or I've had other times where I've met with the guys who ride the Grand Tours, and they're always a little bit more focused on aero and lightweight stuff. So, we spend a lot of time talking about the climber's jersey and making that faster, or, making, what we could do to, make something more comfortable,
yeah.
Or, just that little extra that they need to do well in a Grand Tour. So that's pretty cool. So we're always getting rider feedback, and it's one-on-one feedback, in those little groups. And sometimes they say crazy stuff that like, that would never work. But other times you get those little nuggets and you get a Gabba.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Exactly. I was just thinking about that, how that started. But yeah, no, that happens often. So this is awesome. Well, Alvin, I told you this would be 15 minutes of your time today, but now we have been on for almost 40 minutes, so let's call it a wrap, and we can both head back to our office, or actually it's almost noon now. Maybe
if I don't lunch now, Soren, I'm totally going to miss my lunch ride. So let's wrap this up, please.
So let me just, one last thing here I just want to mention before we wrap up this episode. This is on a side note, not to do with Perfetto or Gabba, but you can use the Perfetto and Gabba riding through the Castelli STRAVA challenge. So Castelli had just launched starting next week on October 9th and finishes on October 22nd. So if you're on Strava and haven't already signed up, Castelli is challenging you to ride 250 minutes, so a little over 4 hours in 2 weeks, to earn an exclusive Keep It Up Challenge badge. And again, the challenge starts on Monday, October 9th and finishes on October 22nd. And there will be a chance to win 3 exclusive Castelli winter riding kits. So we're going to outfit you from top to toe.
Nice.
Either in the Alpha or in the Perfetto. It's going to be a surprise. So whenever you're hitting the open roads, trails, or powering through your indoor training sessions in October, sign up and see how you measure up against your fellow cyclists. And don't forget to join the Castelli Strava Club and share your thrilling rides, tagging Castelli Cycling and hashtag Castelli Keep It Up on social for a chance to be featured in our stories over the next few weeks. I'll also drop a link to the Strava challenge in the podcast notes. And then, Alvin, I would like to thank you again for taking the time to join me here today.
Yeah, always happy to chat kit and product and what we do with the pros. It's a whole bunch of fun.
It is a whole bunch of fun, yeah.
Sorry if I could probably say some of this is my fault for talking long, so I just love talking about those little details on our
Kelvin. Hopefully it was also interesting to all the listeners out there. And if you actually have a question or topic you would like us to take up on a future episode, shoot us a line at podcast@castellicycling.com or hit us up on social. And if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe. Talk to your friends about the Castelli podcast. Give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to help us be seen by other cyclists in the algorithm. And I think that's it for today's show. Thanks again, everyone. Ride safe and see you soon.
Cool. Thanks, Soren. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Ciao, ciao.